10 years ago was the Albert Pujols game in the 2011 World Series, breaking down what was hard to believe 10 years ago today when Albert Pujols hit 3 home runs in Game 3 of that World Series, talking about the greatness that is Albert Pujols, as well as talking about apparently what the greatness is in Chris Taylor and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and as well as the Houston Astros as they have a chance to advance to the World Series today on today's episode of Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday and welcome in to this episode of Locked On Cardinals for Friday, October the 22nd of 2021. I am Lucas Smith, your host for the show. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my name and Twitter handle right here at LJ Fastball. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting platform, thanks for tuning in today and every day. Our title sponsor today is Green Room, changing the way we talk sports. We'll talk about them coming up a little bit later on in the show. But thank you for being the title sponsor today. And thank you to you, each and every one of you, for tuning in today, each and every day, making Locked On Cardinals your first listen of your podcasting day. 10 years ago today, in 2011, was the Albert Pujols game. So we'll be talking about Albert Pujols and his majestic 3-home-run game against the Texas Rangers. The Cardinals did win that one 6-7. Ironically, when I was doing some work the other day, I had Game 1 of the World Series on because of this pretty fancy World Series DVD collection set. For those of you on YouTube, you can see it. I have each games 1 through 7 that I enjoy watching. I don't watch games 2, 4, and 5 very much. I find myself watching 1, 3, 6, 7 involved in there. 1, 3, 6, 7 was, of course, the 4 games that the Cardinals won in that World Series 10 years ago. But Albert Pujols, the performance, up to the date of that World Series, the performance of that series with the 3-home-run game, obviously he was upstaged just a bit in Game 6 by David Freese and his heroics, but I don't think Albert's complaining one bit. So we'll talk about that home run game as well as kind of expand on the Arizona Fall League discussion that we had a couple days ago on the podcast. We talked a little bit about Nolan Gorman and Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Hicks. Now I get to talk about Juan Yepez as he putting up some numbers in the Arizona Fall League. Is also talking about and later on in the show the Dodgers and Astros, as the Dodgers made a statement in Game 5 and the Astros look to make a statement tonight in Game number 6. We'll go ahead and get into the action right here, right now on Locked On Cardinals. 10 years ago to the date, October 22nd of 2011. First pitch was 7:06 local between the Cardinals and Rangers, and the Cardinals exploded for 16 runs. This was Albert Pujols' final line in that game. He was 5 for 6 with 4 runs scored, 6 runs driven in, and of course, the 3 home runs that he hit. You throw in a single in there. That's a pretty impressive game for the machine. Just domination, because at that time, the Cardinals had a late comeback win in Game 1 of that series. The Rangers had a late comeback win in Game 2 of that series. So each team kind of had some momentum, lost some momentum, and Game 3 was going to be pivotal. And from the first 3 innings of that game, it was a pitcher's duel. Alan Craig had that home run in the first inning against Matt Harrison, who started the game for the Rangers. The starter of the game for the Cardinals was Kyle Loesch. He had a very fine Cardinal career, but Alan Craig providing all the offense, and then the Cardinals bust open for 4 runs in the 4th. The Rangers respond with 3 runs in the 4th. The Cardinals get 3 runs in the 5th. The Rangers respond with 3 runs in the 5th of their own. And then the Cardinals respond with 4 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th, 1 in the 9th. Rangers only able to get 1 in the 7th. So it was, at that time, just the Cardinal offense just absolutely taking over. But this was the Albert Pujols game for a reason. He had 3 home runs. He had a 3-run shot, a 2-run shot, and a solo blast to cap it off as he goes 3-2-1. He needed just the grand slam to get the cycle of home runs, and that would be up there with the all-time greats in terms of who is all-time great World Series performances. And Albert Pujols still is up there for a single game World Series performance with that 3 home run game. At the time, it was only him, Reggie Jackson, and Babe Ruth who had hit 3 home runs in a World Series game. Pablo Sandoval has since joined that, did that the very next year in the very first game of the 2012 World Series. Kind of ironic that yesterday. Chris Taylor had a 3-home run game, an elimination game. You could argue it was a little lower stakes because it wasn't the World Series, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We're talking about Albert Pujols right now, and Albert Pujols was somebody that provided a lot of big moments in the regular season at Busch Stadium. Provided a lot of big postseason moments. You think of the home run against Brad Lidge in 2005 that silenced Houston. At least the crowd in Houston. Astros going on to win that series. But then you look at the World Series home run in 2006, and then you look at this 3-home run game against the Texas Rangers. This, to me, is arguably one of the Albert moments over the course of his tenures. Yes, you've got the 3-home run day at Wrigley. You've got the back-to-back walk-off home runs against the Chicago Cubs earlier in that 2011 season. But with this being a pivotal game in that series, with it being the World Series, it could have been in Game 1. It could have been in Game 4 of a sweep. It could have been in Game 5 of a 4-1 series win. It just so happened to be in a pivotal Game 3 for the St. Louis Cardinals that they ended up going on to win the World Series. And he didn't play it too much of a factor other than this game. I understand that. He had a leadoff double in the ninth inning of Game 6 that helped start a rally. But outside of that, he wasn't a huge factor, and I understand that argument. But if you're going to pick one day to be a factor and one way to be a factor, Albert Pujols' 3 home runs in a game, that was it. And they weren't cheap shots either. The 3-run bomb off of Alexio Gondo, the 2-run shot to deep left center field against Gonzalez, and then the home run in against the solo blast against Darren Oliver that was just bombed as well. They were all bombs because when Albert hits him, he hits him a long ways. So for Albert Pujols, none of them were cheap. He got every stitch of every single one, and it was just straight domination from the part of Albert Pujols. He was locked in. It was one of those days that he was locked in. When you look at the World Series DVD, which I also have, Mark McGwire mentioning that all 3 swings were great, but he thought he stayed through. The best swing was his last one. They were all outstanding. I think that this at-bat could have never happened because also in that World Series DVD, Albert Pujols talks about that, hey, Tony didn't have to leave me in. It was a big lead. Maybe save your bullets, but no. World Series game, you go out there to win the game because crazy comebacks have happened. The Cardinals have been a part of a few. They've been on the losing end of a few. Crazy comebacks have happened. So you leave your best players into the very end of the World Series. It's exactly what Tony La Russa did, and he was rewarded with a historic performance. Because outside of Games 6 and the last out of Game 7, and granted, those are 2 very high up there in terms of greatest Cardinal memories, this is a top Cardinal memory for me. World Series action, I was 11 years old at the time. My favorite player at the time, Albert Pujols, hitting 3 home runs, making history. Whenever somebody makes history, especially to an 11-year-old, it sticks with you for a very long time. It has stuck with me for 10 years. Obviously, I think everybody looks the best in the home jerseys of the St. Louis Cardinals, but 3 home runs in Game 3 will stick up to me for hopefully probably the rest of my life. And when you look at the fan side of me, from this 11-year-old kid that was starting to fall in love with the game, and Albert Pujols helped me along in that journey and provided a Cardinal memory that, as I mentioned, has stuck with me for a very long time. I might not get the same goosebumps and feelings that I do rewatching David Freese's heroics in Game 6 and Lance Berkman's heroics in Game 6, but 3 home runs in a World Series game speaks for itself. And I think that Albert was able to kind of make his mark in that series. He did it in Game 2 of the division series or the championship series against Milwaukee, hitting the home run against Sean Markham early in that game and providing some power. And then he did it in the World Series with the 3 home run game because the good players are the ones that step up most of the time, or that step up during the regular season. The great players, the legends, are the ones that step up when the moment shines brightest. Pujols had a hit yesterday in the World Series in the postseason game. October for baseball fans are when the moment shines brightest, and Albert, 10 years ago today, was able to step up. He was able to step up and deliver for his team in a way that nobody else could because he did it in only a way Albert could, because Albert knew how to take advantage of the moment, especially in that first one when it was still a back-and-forth game at the time when he hit the 3-run shot off of Oquendo. That was a bomb, and that was a big moment because you look at it, Oquendo was one of the more unhittable pitchers during that time frame, or especially during that very specific time frame, and he was able to turn the momentum on a dime just like that and really helped the Cardinals to win, and it was one of the best performances in World Series history. No question about it. When you're asking me who would I list as what would I list as some of the top performances, Albert's 3-home run game 10 years ago today in Arlington, Texas, against the Texas Rangers stands right up there with the best of them. At bare minimum, stands right up there with the best of them in terms of Cardinal World Series history performances. Obviously, it's very hard and virtually impossible to beat what David Freese did in Game 6, but Albert Pujols is the machine for a reason, and the machine was producing 10 years ago today and still producing 10 years from that date. Somehow, some way, as his Dodgers find a way to make an absolute statement win in Game 5 as they ship the series back to Atlanta. So we'll talk about the Dodgers and Astros coming up here in just a moment. But Albert's performance was just remarkable. It just was. You go back to an article that was written 10 years ago by Jason Stark. He said, Sir Albert has officially turned this into his World Series with a breathtaking night. And as of that time, Stark writes that as I mentioned, the only two players to hit 3 home runs in a World Series game were Reggie Jackson and Babe Ruth. So not only, and it goes on to say that article that not only should Albert be talked about in the same breath as them, but it's also one of those things that now you can statistically and historically say of why he is in the same sentence as those two amazing players and one of the greatest hitters of all time. So it's an abundance of things. It's one of the top World Series performances of all time, one of the top Cardinal moments of all time, done by one of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time, done by the greatest right-handed hitter of his generation, or one of, at bare minimum. Albert Pujols, congratulations on the 10-year anniversary of his 3-home run game against the Texas Rangers. I want to know where you guys were standing, sitting, watching this game 10 years ago. Let me know. Follow me on Twitter at LJ Fastball. Reply to a tweet that I said of where you were. Locked on Cardinals at LO_Cardinals. Already tweeted out that question with a video. So respond to that tweet. DM on Instagram, email lockedoncards@gmail.com. I want to know where you were 10 years ago. I was sitting in my basement watching this game with my mom because, like I said, I was 11 years old at the time. So we'll go and get into the Dodgers in a little bit. I also want to talk about Juan Yepez, but we're running a little long on the timing. So I do have to take my first break of the show. When we come back talking about Juan Yepez, and then we'll transition into the Dodgers and the statement that they made last night against the Atlanta Braves. But first, taking our first break. So slow is just right if you're on vacation, if you're a sloth, or if you're describing quick books. More like slow books. It sucks you in and slows you down with manual processes, integration difficulties, and glitchy delays that leave you scrambling for the numbers that you need. Now is the time to switch by NetSuite by Oracle, the number one financial system, because NetSuite gives you visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. It's everything you need to grow all in one place. With NetSuite, you can automate your processes and close your books in no time, no matter how big your business grows. Failing to switch to NetSuite will leave you stuck trying to make the sense of your books while your competitors sprint ahead. 93% of surveyed businesses increase their visibility and control since switching to NetSuite. And right now, special financing is back. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program only for those who switch today. Head to netsuite.com/lockedon right now. Get special financing at netsuite.com/lockedon. That is netsuite.com/lockedon. Also want to tell you guys about the best tasting protein bar in the business, and that is Built Bar. I've got 3 reasons as to why you should buy some Built Bars. Number 1, they are tasty. They've got 9 incredible flavors to try. Here they are: coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, double chocolate, salted caramel, strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, and German chocolate. If you don't know which ones to try, get yourself a mixed box and you'll get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. So that's number 1. They're tasty. Number 2, they're healthy. All these bars have 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, 4 to 5 grams of sugar, 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Order today. What are you waiting for? If you want a 1 flavor recommendation, I suggest double chocolate. And reason number 3 to order, you can save some money by going to Built.com, entering the promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, for 15% off your order at Built.com. These bars are tasty. They are healthy. And with the promo code LOCKED15, you can save some money, 15% off your order at Built.com. So get yourself some Built Bars today. Juan Yepez continues to hit at the Arizona Fall League. He's 23 years old. This is according to an article by William Bohr at MLB.com. He was 2 for 5 in the Glendale Desert Dogs 10-5 win on Thursday night. I mentioned that the Cardinals all play for the Glendale Desert Dogs. Over 111 games between AA and AAA. I mentioned that he was on fire. He had a slash line of 286, 383, 586. That's a very, very impressive. In through 6 games, he's got a 333 average with 7 RBIs in the Arizona Fall League. He's a Cardinals number 27 prospect. He's an impressive man. He's putting up very impressive numbers, so I wanted to give him kind of a shout out. I realized I didn't talk about him a ton when I did the Arizona Fall League update a couple episodes ago, but this is somebody that has not stopped hitting since the last 2 months of the regular season, and now into his bonus season, into the Arizona Fall League, continues to hit, continues to produce. Juan Yepez is not a name you're going to want to forget when you're thinking about Cardinals prospects. And again, we're working with Aram Layton to get him on the show here shortly, reaching out to him. So Juan Yepez is definitely a name that we're going to be talking about in addition to the names you're all familiar with. But Juan Yepez is tearing it up at the Arizona Fall League, just like he tore it up to finish up the regular season, and that is why he earned a spot on the postseason roster for the St. Louis Cardinals. It was partly due to the fact that he was just absolutely on fire in the minor leagues. So I just want to give a shout out to Juan Yepez. Want to make sure I'm getting you guys all the information you need to know about the Cardinals. And also, how about the Dodgers? Because we had 2 former Cardinals on the Dodgers right now, minimum, and Joe Kelly and Albert Pujols. Joe Kelly got the start yesterday in a bullpen game, did not pitch extremely well, gave up a 2-run shot to Freddie Freeman in just 2 outs. But Albert Pujols, like I mentioned, steps up each and every time and continues to produce. And the Dodgers produced a ton last night, winning 11-2, scoring 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fifth, 1 in the seventh, 4 in the eighth. Max Fried just did not have it. As he was not sharp after the first 2 innings. It looked like it was going to be all Braves after the first 2 innings. Fried was sharp, or after the first inning, I should say. Fried was sharp at a 2-0 lead. You're going up against the Dodger bullpen. But here are the numbers for the Dodger bullpen outside of Joe Kelly. Here's how it lined up. Phillips won an inning and a third and struck out 3 of the 4 batters he faced. The lefty Vicia went an inning, gave up a hit, but struck out 1. Brunson Gratterall, 2 innings pitched, 2 punch-outs, looked filthy. Blake Trinan, 2 innings pitched, a hit. Once again, looked filthy. Corey Knebel, an inning, a hit. 3 punch-outs, and Kenley Jansen with a scoreless perfect 9th. No hits, no walks, no strikeouts. Overall, 9 innings pitched, 8 innings pitched, I should say. 8 and 1/3 innings pitched outside of Joe Kelly. Just 3 hits given up. 8 1/3 innings by the Los Angeles Dodger bullpen that is not named Joe Kelly. 3 hits on the night. Pretty remarkable. When you say bullpen game, you tend to think advantage hitters because you have one guy that doesn't have the stuff in the bullpen, and then the rest of the bullpen game is tarnished. But when you have a bullpen like the Los Angeles Dodgers do, that's advantage Dodgers. And now you have the ability to line up Max Scherzer and Walker Buehler in a Game 7 if they get there. Now, in one game, even though the Dodgers are still down 3-2, even though they're still going to Atlanta to play games 6 and possibly 7 Saturday and Sunday, the advantage is slowly turning to the Los Angeles Dodgers because of the way that their bullpen is set up, the way that they are just flat out able to dominate with that bullpen. Their bullpen has been phenomenal this postseason. And you combine that with pretty solid starting pitching, that's a recipe for disaster. I mentioned yesterday that maybe the Dodgers are running out of gas. Their offense must have refueled because they scored 11 times on Thursday with 17 hits. Chris Taylor sprinting towards the series MVP. If the Dodgers were to win this series, he had 3 home runs, a 2-run shot in the second that scored Albert Pujols, a 2-run shot in the 5th that also scored Albert Pujols, and a solo blast in the 7th. So Albert Pujols continues to be a part of history as he scored on 2 of the 3 home runs that Chris Taylor hit in a 3 home run game. Almost 10 years to the day, 1 day short of his own 3 home run game in the World Series. Albert just continues to defy logic, and he might not even be done playing. And then, the Trey Turner RBI knock in the 8th and the A.J. Pollock, just absolute bomb in that inning in the 8th to kind of put a capper on it. 11-2 is the final score there. yeah, this Dodger offense must have gotten some extra coffee in them, some extra something, some extra giddy up because they came out and made a statement in Game 5, and then that statement is this series is not over. Don't forget that we won 106 games during the regular season. Don't forget that we won the World Series last year. Don't forget that we came back 3-1 last year against these very Atlanta Braves. Different team, I understand that, different personnel, but a lot of the players for the Dodgers did this last year. Chris Taylor, AJ Pollock, Kenley Jansen, not Max Scherzer, Walker Buehler. They did this 3-1 comeback thing last year. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, they did this. This is a team that has done it before, so I'm not trying to completely flip my thoughts about this series, but the momentum is slowly turning towards the Dodgers, even though they're going to Atlanta for games 6 and 7. That's how good this Dodgers team was yesterday. They made sure that there was no doubt that they were not ending this series at home. If this series is going to end, it's going to end in Atlanta. It's either going to end with a Dodger win or a Braves win, but it's going to end in Atlanta. This offense made an absolute statement, and that was heard loud and clear by the baseball world last night. And now, if you're the Atlanta Braves, you got to be a little wary. The good thing is for Atlanta, they have Ian Anderson going for them in Game 6, according to MLB.com. So that's a solid start for Atlanta. You're going up against Max Scherzer, who has reported some dead arm, possible overuse for Max Scherzer. So maybe, yes, you have the name of Max Scherzer, but you still got to go out there and produce, get results. But like I mentioned, I predicted that the Braves would win last night. I was wrong. I still think the Braves have a little bit of control in this series. If it goes to a Game 7, then you got to wonder, do they have control? But the momentum, as I mentioned, slowly shifting to the Dodgers. But I do think there is a way for the Braves to still win this thing. You got 2 games at home. Ian Anderson going tomorrow night, rather. Excuse me. The Braves, in my opinion, need to take care of business in Game 6. I still think the Braves win this series. I do think the Braves will move on. They did not lose a game at home in the first 2 games of this series. They'll have to look to continue to do that, use the home field advantage, hopefully take advantage as well of Max Scherzer's dead arm. And or hope it still is dead for the fact that maybe you'll be able to get a couple of hits and runs off of him and force the Dodgers to go to that bullpen, which now might be a little bit taxed after all the use they had to do in Game 5. And yes, you have the off day today for the National League Championship Series, but still, you have to wonder how effective they will continue to be as we move deeper and deeper into the postseason. On the American League side, the Astros have a chance to clinch tonight, and things are looking bleak for the Red Sox just purely based on the offense that the Red Sox have shown. We do just take one last break on the show before we get into the American League Championship Series. And I'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, BetOnline is back and better than ever. They have a new web interface for the start of basketball season, hockey season, with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. More ways for you to win some money. BetOnline remains to be your number one spot for the football and basketball action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website and sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus when you first sign up and on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, to receive your bonus. Locked On for a 50% welcome bonus. If you deposit $50 when you sign up, you enter the promo code Locked On, you'll get 25 free extra dollars. Whether it's basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, or UFC, or your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, and BetOnline is where the game starts. Luis Garcia getting the ball, right-hander for the Houston Astros, going up against Nathan Eovaldi as the series shifts back to Houston. Luis Garcia, the 24-year-old right-hander. Let's take a look at his game logs for the 2021 postseason. They are not that impressive. On October 10th, against the Chicago White Sox, he started 1 game in that series, 2 2/3 of an inning, 5 hits, 5 earned, a home run. He walked 3 and struck out 3. Fast forward to the very next series against the Boston Red Sox. His 1 start, 1 inning on the 16th, 5 earned runs, 2 hits, a home run, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. So 6 walks in just 3 2/3 of an inning, 3.55 whip, a 3.89 opponent's batting average. The leash should be quick on Luis Garcia. in my opinion, is just given the history of him this postseason. When you look at it at his regular season numbers, they're not quite as bad. In 28 starts, he had a 3.48 ERA, 11-8 record, a 2.32 batting average against, a 1.18 WHIP for Luis Garcia in the regular season. Nathan Eovaldi coming off the ninth inning blunder in Game 4, in which he gave up a handful of runs in that series, pitching in the ninth as a reliever, something that he's not used to doing. Plain and simple, he gave up 4 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. His most recent start came against these Houston Astros on the 16th of October, so he'll get technically the same amount of rest if you want to treat that 19th as a bullpen day for him. 5 1/3, 3 earned runs for him against the Astros. His previous 2 starts to that against the Rays and Yankees were both solid. So it's just a matter of which Nathan Eovaldi shows up. And if you're the Red Sox, you want the early postseason Nathan Eovaldi, or at least the early 2021 postseason Nathan Eovaldi, because that Nathan Eovaldi was pretty darn good. And if you can get 5 to 6 innings of 0 to 2 earned runs, hopefully your offense is a little bit better. Maybe your offense reverts back to the way they were in games 1 and 2 at Houston. Maybe for whatever reason this series they hit better at Houston than they do at Boston. That's fine as long as they get the win. But I do think that the Astros will win this series, whether it's in 6 or 7. I would love if both of these series went 7 games. I think that the ALCS has a little bit more of an opportunity to go 7 games, but I think both are, you could argue that both of these series are over 50% likely going to 7 games. And I would absolutely love that because that is chaos. That is more baseball to watch. And Game 7 baseball postseason is remarkable. The only thing better than Game 7 in the American and National League Championship Series is a Game 7 of the World Series, because that is some of the most entertaining sports in the entire sports land. So I think that the Astros and Braves find a way to win over the next 2 games, 3 days overall, because the American League Championship Series continues tonight. National League continues tomorrow. We'll have possibly a Game 6 and a Game 7 tomorrow, or just a Game 6 if the Astros win tonight. I do think the Astros will win one of the next 2 nights. Let me know your prediction by direct messaging me on Twitter at LJFastball. You can respond to a tweet. You can comment on an Instagram post. You can DM on the Twitter or Instagram to the show at LO_Cardinals, or you can email the show lockedoncards@gmail.com. We'll take a weekend break for the Locked On Cardinals podcast. Be back on Monday, breaking down the rest of the championship series and possibly previewing the World Series, because we will have a World Series matchup by then at the latest, because Sunday night, the latest, would be Game 7 in the National League Championship Series. That's going to do it for today's show. I encourage you to make Locked On MLB your second listen, with our pal Sully breaking down the postseason action day in and day out. He does a great job over there. So make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. And until I talk to you guys on Monday, be sure to stay safe, stay well, and have a wonderful weekend.